Welcome to Sober Sunrise, a podcast bringing you AA speaker meetings with stories of experience, strength, and hope from around the world. We bring you several new speakers weekly, so be sure to subscribe. We hope to always remain an ad-free podcast, so if you'd like to help us remain self-supporting, please visit our website at sober-sunrise.com. Whether you join us in the morning or at night, there's nothing better than a sober sunrise. We hope that you enjoy today's speaker.
Hi everybody, I'm Steve. I'm an alcoholic. How you guys doing? I can't open my drink. Oh my god. Okay. I want to thank you, Rose, for inviting me. I know so many people here. Oh, that's the best thing. Okay, they can't hear me. You're lucky. Why mess it up? Better? You know I'm an alcoholic, right? New people? Okay. And I thanked Rose, which I appreciate you inviting me to share. I know a lot of people in this room. I come here every week. It's nice. And I got ex-husbands in this room. One. And, just people I admire. This is a terrific meeting if you're new, and I'm really glad you're here. It's a 35-minute pitch. So I'm going to talk about what I used to be like a little more briefly, because this is a workshop, and then what happened, what I'm like now. And basically what I used to be like is my compass points to hell without a program. That's right to the chase, There's just no hope for me. I am a very divisive person with myself. I often say, which is true, I cannot wait to meet the next guy down the road to fall in love with him, apparently, so I can start hating his guts as soon as possible. Because that's what always would happen without a program. And I felt I had a lot of problems. If you're new here and you feel you have a lot of problems, welcome. Alcoholics Anonymous has had an answer for me. I was kind of surprised at the answer, and I continue to be surprised at the answer. And I've been sober since January 30th, 1983. I think that's important to say. That's Alcoholics Anonymous, and I'm very grateful. And when I think about my life, I used to say I didn't feel a part of, I didn't fit in, I couldn't find my place. And then one day I just realized, what it is basically, you just never identified anywhere. I didn't identify with my family. They were really nice-looking people, and I was this tall, skinny thing with buck teeth and scraggly hair in a police report, okay? So I'm not making that up. And it made me mad. I'm always mad if I don't have a program. I remember one of the people I was married to, I like to marry people without a program. One of the people I was married to said, I actually think you're like the angriest person I ever met. To which I replied, that makes me angry, So I didn't have a lot going for me, and I felt aware of that. And I remember when I went to kindergarten, I peaked at 5, I think, because I went to kindergarten and it seemed like there were a lot of people looking at me, kind of like you're looking at me. And I became, I would say, a mind reader in kindergarten, because I didn't know what they were thinking. And this is part of the self-centeredness of my alcoholism. I felt they were thinking something that wasn't good. I knew they were thinking about me. It wasn't good. There were too many of them to kill, So I just felt screwed. And then it got worse. I went to what turned out to be somewhat militaristic youth group called the Girl Scouts. And Girl Scouts didn't work out either. It just wasn't, we just didn't get along. I guess Girl Scouts started to catch on to me when I did something funny with their cookie money, And they took that pretty seriously. I took some heat for that in Girl Scouts. Ultimately, Girl Scouts uninvited me to be a Girl Scout. And, I felt vindicated many years later in Alcoholics Anonymous when I met a former CEO of Girl Scouts. I thought, see, they make you drink. I just knew it, And So Girl Scouts didn't work out, and I kind of lurched on there. You know, nobody took me aside that day and said, you know, this is the beginning of a fatal progression, Sia. From here on in, every organization you join is going to uninvite you to be a member. And but cheer up, in about 10 years you'll become an alcoholic and you won't give a damn, you know, so don't worry too much. When I was about 17, I don't know if I was 17 or 18, I had my first official drink. And I remember I took that drink, then I was afraid when I took that drink. And I was afraid because I had grown up in a home where drinking was a problem for my father. You know, in AA, if you're new, we say it's a family illness. And what I found with my father is when the alcoholic goes in for the play, nobody in my family stays on the bench. You know, everybody got involved. And I didn't have the vocabulary when I was a kid, but I saw powerlessness. I grew up in a small town in Montana, and my father lost most everything materially because of his drinking. And I know he didn't want that to happen. I know it. I knew it then. I just didn't have that word. And my father lost his place in the community also. You know, people disrespected him. And I know he didn't want that to happen either. And yet that happened to my father. And so when I took this drink, it was at a local college watering hole, and it was a beer, no big deal. And I took this drink, and I waited to see if something would happen to me, like I would lose everything or something. And that's not what happened. But something else happened. And the book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about this, the effect produced by alcohol. And in my case, we all have our own way of understanding this, but in my case, the effect produced was simply that this lifetime obsession I had, I'm a person who has alcoholism through and through. The two features are allergy of the body, right, and obsession of the mind. I have other allergies too. You know, I have an allergy to penicillin, but I can tell you this, I can stake my life on this. I'm never going to score a shot of penicillin again in this lifetime. That's not happening. And yet I have an allergy to alcohol. Why would I drink again? And this is my third time in AA, and the reason I will drink again is because of obsession of the mind. And those tracks were laid before I ever had a drink. I had obsession of the mind about not fitting in. I guess we say in AA, some of us were seekers, and I'm a seeker. I was looking forever, I was looking for the exit, you know. I am somebody looking for something so that I'm not here. And so when I took this drink, that obsession, I don't know if it was the first sip or the middle of the beer or the bottom of the glass or the bottom of the pitcher, but somewhere in that evening, that obsession of mine was resolved, removed, whatever you want to say. And what I'll tell you in my case anyway is when a problem of that stature is resolved, whatever resolves it, I'm going to go back to it as often as I can. And I began to drink as often as I could. And I'm an alcoholic who takes geographics. And suicide's the ultimate geographic. It's the quickest way out of town. I'm somebody who took that geographic. But I can't live good. I can't die good. I mean, this is California. We have earthquakes. I remember I parked under a bridge on a bad day. You know, I just wait. Nothing happened. So I don't have the follow through, you know. And one time on a real bad day, I overdosed, but it was no dose, and we're still waiting, you know. So it's like that with me. I started taking geographics in Montana. I started drinking on the reservations. There were two reasons. First of all, people weren't calling my family from the reservation to tell my family about my behavior, so that was good. Second of all, a pattern in my drinking, and if you're new here and you work this program, I found these patterns, these old ideas, and one of the patterns that I had is because I felt so different from people, I hung out with people very different from me, because then I had a reason why I felt different from people, you know, and that would kind of get off my back, and so I drank on the reservations for that reason. And I started having something I call assisted geographics happen to me. I named it because it started happening to me quite a bit. And assisted geographic is where somebody else starts helping you pack before you're ready to leave, you know. And funny to you. And that started happening to me. It started happening with my mom, my own mom. When I drink and I get this release, I guess I feel hopeful is what happens. I feel great, and I'm going to chase that feeling to the end of the line. And I would stay out all night if I could. And when I came home, it's not a good time to have a discussion on issues. And one morning, one of my brothers took me to task for the hour of my arrival. And, I'll kill you. I'll kill your whole family. I don't care if you are my family. And we got in a fist fight, and my mom got caught between us. And here's the thing I did not understand at that time in my life, because as an alcoholic, I am self-centered. If there's a problem, if it doesn't have anything immediate to do with me, it's not my problem. And it didn't occur to me, my parents had separated recently, it didn't occur to me that maybe my mom felt like her life was over. She had these little kids, my dad had a drinking problem, they had financial problems, and now they were separated. And then there was me, this problem person, which the book calls us problem people, and it was too many problems. And so I had to leave. And then I was drinking in California, and I said to myself, I was drinking in Beverly Hills, that's what I said. And it sounded good to me. It's that part in the book about whistling in the dark, where you feel uncomfortable with yourself and you start dressing it up to yourself. And so I got drank in Beverly Hills for about 5 minutes at the bus stop, okay? And I was on my way to hell or wherever I was going. I ended up way down past Western. And I was drinking at a bar called The Good Night, which it wasn't, so don't look it up. And I had no business in that bar. The people were very different from me one more time, which made me feel comfortable, but it was kind of a rough bar. There was another young woman who drank there, and here's where my drinking took a turn. What happened is that one night, one of the two of us ended up with her head blown off in the vacant lot behind the building this bar was located in. And the thing about that got to me is her name was Debbie. I think I may have said that. Debbie was like me when she drank. She seemed to acquire important information about you, and it was important that you know, whether you resisted or not. And I was like that, and I realized it could easily have been me, and it frightened me. And I did that thing of starting to try to control my drinking. I said to myself, why don't you back off of it? Why don't you wise up a little bit, Maybe you've had more than your fair share. And what was shocking to me is no matter what I said to myself, I continued to drink. I drank behind my own back. I drank without my permission, it's funny to say that to you, but it wasn't funny then. That was the scariest thing that ever happened to me. It is a very scary thing when self-will is suspended. Human will, I didn't understand what was happening to me. It was like my life started to go on without me, and I got burglarized around that time, and I didn't notice for a couple of weeks. I mean, come on, who lives like that, And so I got really spiritually claustrophobic with myself. And where's the geographic for that one, And then at the same time, pretty much right around there, the thing that clinched my looking for help coming to AA. I was looking out of the window one day. It was a little further in the day than it is now. And I'm glad I looked out the window because I noticed a guy walking down the sidewalk with a shotgun. I'm from Montana. I know a shotgun when I see one. And I thought that was kind of aggressive, for a city street. And the reason I'm glad I looked out the window is he came into the courtyard of the building where I lived and up the stairs to my door. And because I had seen this guy, I didn't recognize him. I don't know if I did something to him in a blackout. I don't know if it was the people I lived with, because I lived with those kinds of people, although they probably would have told you I was those kinds of people too. And I just knew he was there, and I didn't know what to do. I wondered if he shot the gun, if it could penetrate the door and kill me anyway. It was a moment where you seriously want some help. And I don't know what the deal was for him, but he turned around after a little bit, and he just walked away. And I want some help. And I'm not a person who asks for help, not before AA. I mean, you get to a point, or I'll speak for myself, I got to a point where, I'd rather die than ask for help. And AA asked the question, really? And, it got pretty close for me. What happened is a few days later, or within that period of time, there was an announcement about Alcoholics Anonymous in the community service section of some newspaper. It said, we hold hands here, we pray, and then we don't drink anymore. I'm telling you, I thought that sounded as corny as hell to me, but I'll tell you what else. I want to go, because I didn't know what to do about myself. And I went to this meeting. It was a daytime meeting. It was a nice meeting. I remember that because the woman gave me her phone number. She said she'd sponsor me. I didn't know what that was, and I didn't care. And all I can tell you is I guess I walked through this Agent Orange spirituality that's Alcoholics Anonymous. I say that because I walked in that meeting. I didn't know if it was an hour, hour and a half. I did not leave with your book. I did not know your steps. I did not know your traditions. I sat in that meeting. I walked out of that meeting. And like an hour later, bam, out of nowhere, I noticed I did not have the obsession to drink. I don't know about you if you're new here, but for me, to drink is to breathe. And what I mean by that is hold your breath. You know, just try to do that. Unless you're like that magician guy in Vegas who can hold his breath for 20 minutes, but you are going to breathe again. And I'm going to drink again. I absolutely know that, standing here tonight, that I will drink again. I will do it on my own. The most important thing in my life is to remember not to drink, and I cannot remember that by myself. And I have proved that to myself 2 previous times, and I think to my most innermost self, I recognize I need to be an Alcoholics Anonymous. And so this happened to me, and I kind of been looking over my shoulder ever since. I came into AA feeling very subjugated by God. If you're new here and God, the word, is a problem, people in Alcoholics Anonymous said, see, it's a placeholder word. In Alcoholics Anonymous, if you're new, God can be anything. He, she, it, we don't care. In Alcoholics Anonymous, God is also anonymous. It is whatever you need it or want it to be. And that was important information for me. Atheists can get sober in AA because AA is not a theistic system. It's just, I need some power. I guess my God could be called not Sia. Perhaps that's a good name for it. And that was a good start. You know, that was a good start. And anyway, the problem for me was this. I thought I had a drinking problem, and my problem is solved. What do I need you for, you know? And I said something to myself like, if something comes up, I'll be right back, because that's how I roll without a program. And as night follows day, something came up about 2 weeks later, and what it was is it's discussed to some extent in the big book, and what it is a resentment. It says a thing in the book, and if you're new, you're going to have to decide if that book's true for you or not. In my case, that book is my autobiography. That book can have a happy ending, or it can be a tragedy. It's a comedy. In my case, it turns out, you know. But that book says that resentment is the #1 offender. That I think it says it destroys more alcoholics than anything. Either that's a big fat lie or it's true. And you know what? It is true in my case. It is absolutely true in my case. I should have my picture there. Because what happened to me is I got a resentment towards someone, and you know, they were fine. And I got so mad at them, I ended up drinking and compromised my sobriety. What I know today with this sobriety is that when I get a resentment against somebody, I just became willing to die over their problem. And you know what? I ain't going there. I'm not doing that. I got a program. I do other things with it. You gave me other tools. And so I didn't know that then, and I came back to AA a couple of times, but I was looking for that thing that happened to me. And it didn't happen to me. And I didn't have the book, and I didn't know that you can have a spiritual experience of the educational variety. And so it seemed I didn't have the power to stay in the rooms, and I drifted out the door. And I was in London, and I was a model. That's what I called it. I don't know what you would have called it if you'd seen me in action, but that's what I was. And I lost my job because of my drinking, and because I stayed out all night, and I looked terrible, and I don't know what their problem was, but the clients went ahead and took these pictures, and I saw them, and you know, I looked like an alcoholic. My face was bloated, my eyes were bloodshot. Not a vision for you, right? And the agency was fed up with me. I don't know what you're like if you're an alcoholic employee. I am not a functioning alcoholic. I'm a terrible employee. I'd walk down runways with dresses on backwards. I walked out of my shoes. You know, you can't have too many, like, oh, it's a bad day. And they were like, get out of here. And if you're new here, AA is the I Can't Club, I guess. Because out there, I can't, and I came in here and I still can't. But out there, I can't does not work well. Out there, when you say I can't to the employer too many times, you lose the job. I did. Out there, if I can't make the car payment too many times, you lose the car, right? Out there, if you can't show up for the relationship too many times, you lose the relationship. I don't know about you, but I lost my family because of my drinking. I got my family back because of Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't even want my family back, but I got my family back. Alcoholics Anonymous works, watch it, right? And so I lost my job. The Bank of England called me. I was overdrawn at the bank. It's that moment where God is everything or God is nothing. And that's when there's nobody else to call. God becomes everything. I'm that kind of person. When this place was the lesser of two evils, and that's called desperation. And it's the most badly wrapped gift in Alcoholics Anonymous, but I'll take it, in retrospect. And so I called this person who had broken her anonymity to me, who was in the industry. And I went back to Alcoholics Anonymous. But I didn't change enough. And I say that to you because in retrospect I realized I got into the demand versus the request type of sobriety. I had a timetable of things I wanted back and things that were supposed to happen, and they weren't happening, and I got another resentment against Alcoholics Anonymous this time. And I'm out of here. And there is one who has all power. May you find him now. And that day his name was Gerald. And I was kind of overdue for a geographic, and I went with Gerald to Gatwick Airport, and he was buying tickets to get me out of there. And I remember when I tried to stop drinking, one thing I thought of is, I'm going to do something wrong and go to jail, because they make you stop drinking in jail. But then I thought it through a little bit, and I realized nobody can make you stop drinking if you can't stop drinking. So basically what's happening in jail is they're interrupting you, which is just rude. And so jail was out of the picture. But as I stood in line waiting for Gerald, I think God interrupted me. And I say that because out of nowhere, the federales came swooping in, and they arrested Gerald. What was more upsetting to me is they arrested the tickets. And so it's that deal in the book, take a trip, not take a trip, And I went home, and I didn't know what to do. And when I don't know what to do, and when I don't have you, I revert to type. And what I did is I drank. I compromised my sobriety one more time. But then I did something that was interesting, and it leads back to my original point. I went to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Why would I do that? I really thought about that for a long time because I was so mad at AA for disappointing me. And what I came to realize was simply this. What happened is I came in AA, just like new people here that are here tonight, and somebody was talking like I'm talking. And, they were talking about their feelings, talking about their drinking, and I did that intangible thing that we do in AA. So much of AA isn't intangible. You can't see it. How do you know you did it? What I did is I identified. And so what happened for me, all of my life I never felt a part of, I identified in AA, and Alcoholics Anonymous became my home. And I was in trouble. And so I just went home. That's what happened. There was a guy there, and I thought I'd never see him again. I don't know about you as an alcoholic, but I'm a liar, a cheat, a thief, and a whore. And an old-timer told me that. I was going on and on about myself, and she interrupted me and said, shut up. You're an alcoholic. I know all about you. You're a liar, a cheat, a thief, and a whore. But cheer up. Go in the meetings and sit behind another cheat, behind a thief, and in front of a whore. You never have to be alone again. Yeah, I know. What a bitch, right? So, anyway, I went home. That's what I did. I told this guy more than I'd normally tell people because I thought I'd never see him again. And thank you, Rose. He gave me a phone number. He probably listened to me for as long as it was polite. And he said, if you want to work the program as Bill sees it, Sia, and not as Sia sees it, why don't you call this person? Why don't you give 6 months of your life to this program? And then he walked away. And I guess I was standing at the turning point, as we read in How It Works. And I was going to either abandon myself or I ain't. And I remember standing with many people in that moment. You gave me your phone number, and I've given new people my number. And I said, give me a call. And what they say to me sometimes is that they can't. And because I have been here with you, and it's an honest program, I know that's the wrong verb. I know that the real verb is they won't. And that's a life or death decision. Do you know what I mean? And that day, what I did is I dialed the phone. I was invited here. I could get in my car and come to a meeting and share. I can dial the phone. What I do know, I can do those things, but I myself cannot stop drinking. As I said, I need you to do that. I need Alcoholics Anonymous. And I dialed the phone that day, and I'd never seen this person before. There was no other offer on the table, and they listened to me, and they said, if you want to clean up your act, maybe we can help you. And you know what? I didn't know what they meant by that. I didn't know what they meant, and I didn't want to ask, because there was just nowhere else to go. And if I couldn't do what they said with more information, I just was screwed. And so what I did is I got on a plane and I came here on like Bat Out of Hell Airlines, I guess. And I got sober in the Pacific Group, one alcoholic yelling at another, And I love them. I love them because to a man, they cut through my obsession of the mind. I needed that help. Where's your next meeting? Who's your sponsor? Have you got a commitment? I walked in that meeting, and I will close with this. Walked in this big Wednesday night meeting they had, and I was struck by an attack of self-centered fear, probably like in kindergarten. And I immediately knew I'd made the wrong move. Now, somebody gave me a ride to that meeting, and they put me up, those people, and I wanted none of it. And the person I was with noticed I was having like a psychotic episode and said, you're here, so why don't you stay till the end of the meeting? And, what else was I supposed to do? I was screwed because they gave me a ride, right? So I sat in the meeting, sat on my hands, waited. The meeting was over. I got up to dash out of there. And this guy intercepted me and he said, how would you like a coffee commitment? I remember thinking, how would you like me to kick your ass? I just wanted out of there. And I had a few things going against me. My resume, I'd lost my job. I'd been uninvited to one entire country at that point. Thank you very much. I told you my family disowned me. And the thing that bothered me the most that evening happened to be the fact I was married to two people at the same time, I wanted to treat it like an accounting problem, but, the people involved really didn't go for it. It's like, what do you mean you lost count? It's not a high number, 1, 2. And, I had no answer for myself. And I had all those things going against me. And what I heard myself say to this guy is I couldn't take the coffee commitment because I was only going to be there 2 weeks. I would have loved to ask the person I was that night, where are you going? That would have been a fascinating piece of information. And he said, okay, and this is how he saved my life, really. Okay, then take it for 2 weeks. And here's what I want to ask you if you're new, and then I'm going to close. Does that look like anything special? Does it look like a page turner? Or, you know what that is for me? That is one of the biggest things in Alcoholics Anonymous. The $100 word, the unicorn of Alcoholics Anonymous, surrender. I just couldn't pull it together one more time. One more lie, nothing, And I guess I equate that feeling to drowning. I'm an excellent swimmer, and I underestimated the situation one time, and I was drowning. And, it isn't even that you give your body permission to fight. It's instinctive. It fights. And mine fought and fought and fought, and then there's just nothing left. It's over, man. And it was over for me, and I was going wherever I was going to go, and out of nowhere, there was something to stand on, that I could get my head out of water, get a little air, get another shot. And that's what Alcoholics Anonymous is to me. Thanks for the 12-step call. Okay. I know everybody has to go to work. I open for questions now. I think I see a question.
I really identified with the fact that you didn't feel like you belonged your whole life. When you got here, how long did it take you for that to just dissipate, if it ever did? And how did you go about that? How did that transpire? You know what I'm saying? Did the program help you with that?
Yeah, the question was, thank you, John, that I didn't feel a part of. Did Alcoholics Anonymous make me feel a part of? And yes. And it's been the immediate relief of hearing you and actually feeling like you were crazier than I was, so I had a shot here, And if you're new, I win in the Weirdness Olympics, so you have every shot in the world of making this program work. And that was an immediate sense of I can grasp and develop this manner of living. That's the language in the book. And I didn't see what doing a coffee commitment had to do with having 2 husbands, you know? And those correlations were a little sophisticated for me. You know, on my best day, I probably have a tenuous grasp on reality anyway. I remember my first sponsor told me, you know, you're always going to be a few streets over from the parade. Okay, I'll take it, you know, I'll take it. And, but I felt, and then where I got sober, they made me a part of. If you're new, the way they made me a part of is they had me participate in the meeting. I'm not a joiner. Without a program, I hate people. What are they for, you know? And in Alcoholics Anonymous, you made me be among people and like take part in stupid things called commitments. And because I was afraid of my sponsor, and I found great value in that in retrospect. It was uncomfortable. But you know what? Dying drunk was more uncomfortable. And so I got to know people because you sort of have to talk to somebody eventually if you're doing something next to them. I mean, you just sort of, I don't know what it was, but so that made me feel a part of it. And doing the spiritual surgery we do here, you know, we have 3 inventories we do here. And I could start doing what the book said. I could look people in the eye. I found out that I was driven by my ego. You know, this is an ego puncturing program. Mine needed it. You know, we need major artillery to puncture mine. And my problem is an ego-based problem. The ego is the burglar, and I didn't know that. I was working on the wrong problem my whole life. I don't know if anybody else felt like that. I thought you were my problem. I remember coming in AA. I remember coming to this meeting. I remember thinking, you know, if I'd gotten a Vogue cover, I wouldn't have to be in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I came to meetings, and you know what? I saw girls who'd been on a Vogue cover. What the hell were they doing here, you know? I remember my mom gave me this weird car when I first got sober, and that was my attitude, weird car. I had no car. I didn't want a weird car. You know, I wanted like a Ferrari or something. And I thought if I had a cooler car, I wouldn't have to be in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd be happy, you know? And then I came in AA, and there's people in this meeting with really cool cars. What the hell are they doing here, you know? If I had enough money, I wouldn't have to be here. There's rich people in AA. You know, if I'd been loved, I wouldn't have to be here. There's married people in AA. And there's people that are like dating in AA. So one by one, I was pushed to the wall to realize this is a spiritual malady, Sia. That's what we call it. And I came to understand that I was thinking you were the problem and you're not the problem. And you know, I don't know if you had an alcoholic car, but I did. and it had a busted windshield. And I used to drive down the street in that car, and you know, you got a busted windshield, everything you look at through that window looks busted. The people are busted, the trees are busted, the sky's busted. But there's only one thing that's really busted, right? And that's the windshield. And my windshield is busted without AA. I got a ferocious ego. It's macho. It has a mustache. There we go, you know. And that's what I'm contending. And my ego dominates me as an alcoholic without enough spiritual wherewithal. And because the program has brought me to a right-sized place, I can do things I couldn't do before. I'm self-supporting through my own contributions at work. I didn't want to be self-supporting through my own contributions, you know. I wanted to marry somebody with money, but nobody asked, you know. So, hey, and so I feel like a person among persons. But the one thing that I will remember is that I am not like normal people. And I need to come here to remember that. I start feeling normal. I start feeling like I can drink like a normal person. No, I cannot drink like a normal person. Just ask Germany. Okay. Hi.
Thank you, Steve. I tried to get here on Thursday night. I've seen you all around the past few years. And you were sort of up here to me, and that was Sia, you know, with Sia. And I just want to thank you because I'm not going to stand in line because I won't be able to say what I'm saying now. Smashing me, and I feel self-conscious. piece by piece, or just one bite at a time, kind of thing. You sold it to me in this really moment. I actually believe this is a trick. It's not magic. This is not a question.
Was the question that can I leave without thanking you? No, that is my answer. But thank you. That was nice of you. Chuck.
Talk more about being married to two guys. And what's the amends like or something like that?
Okay. Question was, you want to hear more about when I was married to two? Oh, he wants to hear more. And then how did I fix that? Well, it was a shock to me, you know. I mean, things just got away from me, okay? I'm not kidding. And one day it occurred to me, there are two of these people in the stable, and what are you going to do about it, you know? And I didn't know. I had a drink, or, you know, I moved or something. And when I got sober this time and got together with my sponsor, I was asked, what are your problems? And that was top of the list. You know, I felt it told me something was wrong. If I wanted to say my drinking wasn't a problem, I don't know how many normal drinkers marry two people, you know, at the same time. So I got a divorce from both of them. I think they're happier people too, you know. So that's what I did. That's what I did. But I had my sponsor help me so that I didn't do it in a way where it's all about me and I would, you know, I hurt these people. So funniness aside, you know, I hurt a lot of people. I didn't know I hurt people. I felt so hurt when I came here. When you talk about the program you're sold on, you know, I was so suspicious of AA, if you're new, because it is ego puncturing. Because it says self-centeredness is the root of our problem. And I was confused by that. I thought, you know, come on, I feel like dirt about myself. And I think I need to be built up here. And what I did not understand, because I was spiritually bankrupt, is the nature of a spiritual malady. That what makes me feel like dirt ain't you. It's my reaction to myself. It is that claustrophobia of the ego. My ego is like the classic, it's the greatest case of identity theft I've ever heard of. It knows everything I think, has all my credit cards, Social Security, and just rides me. You know, it's the voice in the background. My ego was rehearsing for weeks for this talk, you know. It was disgusting. It's always doing that, you know. And so that's what I did. To hold it in abeyance, I do the things you did. You lived. You know what I mean? That was great. You were evidence to me. If you're new here, the people in Alcoholics Anonymous, there's lots of people with time here. They manifest the program. If it's just in the book, it's a lie. It's not in the book. People here have prospered spiritually, and they showed me the way. It's one alcoholic talking to another. I'm a person who cannot get it going with professionals because I feel patronized. Defiance is my outstanding characteristic. I'm just waiting for the opportunity to see you trying to help me. And what AA is, I'm not a charity case here. It's one alcoholic talking to another. And the people I sponsor that I've been given the privilege to work with, they're not charity cases. It's one alcoholic talking to another. And okay, that seemed to work for me. That was a life-saving. Whatever came to pass here has been a life-saving thing for me. Thank you for the question. Okay. Okay, the question is, what do I do for the maintenance of my spiritual program? I do a lot. I would say I do a lot, and I do a lot, and I'm lucky. I had a second bottom in sobriety. I did quite a bit before this happened to me. You know, I got sober in the Pacific Group. They're very action-oriented. But I get through steps 1 through 9, and it was my attitude that was the problem. I felt like done that, been there, done that, got the T-shirt, you know. And I got into the maintenance of sobriety. Now that's steps 10, 11, and 12 if you're new. And I did not do a daily inventory, which is suggested by AA. I did not meditate. I prayed a lot, and I did action. So it says somewhere in our program, half measures avail us nothing, right? So that's 3 steps. I was doing 1.5, half. And you know what? I came a cropper for that. When I was about 21 years sober, I got suicidal again, and I wondered what was happening to me. And it was the last thing on my mind that maybe I wasn't working an adequate program to forestall this spiritual malady. Alcoholism is incurable. I have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, but it's incurable, and it progresses. And my program has to progress ahead of it. It's a living program for a living illness, if you're here, if you're new. And I started to really deteriorate. And last time I shared here, I talked about I got so angry. There was a day that I got out of my car in the neighborhood here because someone wasn't making a left turn properly. And I wanted to help them. I left my car door open, the engine's running in my car, and everybody's looking at me, including me. And I walked up to the front aisle of this left turn lane, and there was a young man there, and his window was open. I punched that guy with all my might. And, he it probably felt like nothing to him, hey. But he could tell I was like a little crazy. And he did the so right thing, he just turned and left. And now everybody, I didn't mean to do that. And it was just like drinking. It just parroted my drinking. I have not had an obsession to drink since I got sober. That's been something you did for me perfectly, Alcoholics Anonymous. But these are defects of character. And these are the tools of the ego. And my ego was asserting itself. And I got really scared. And what I got scared of is that I was going to kill myself again. I started keeping a knife in the bathroom. And I thought, where's this going? Just like my drinking. I realized, you know what? I don't want to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself without my own permission, just like drinking. And I thought, the day came, I thought, you know what? Maybe AA doesn't work. And it shocked me to hear myself say that. If you want to say that, that's your business. But I'm not here for any other reason on this planet, breathing in and out, except for Alcoholics Anonymous. Love was not my problem. Stuff wasn't my problem. I'm my problem. I'm busted inside. And I thought, it's like that part in the book where that guy is pondering whether God is or isn't, and he says something like, could all the people who believe in God in the world be wrong? And like the gates of hell clang shut on her. In that moment I thought, really? If AA doesn't work, where am I going to go? And I thought, maybe you missed something, Sia. And so I went back to the book. I went to step 3. I read step 3 in French. I speak French, but not as well as I speak English. And it made me think. And I found out exactly what I told you when I started telling you this story. I had taken back my life. And you know what I found out? If I do not turn my life over to the care of God, I ain't going to have one. I know that. I found out that I can die of alcoholism without ever taking another drink. It's a shocking thing. Alcoholism is a shocking illness. I underestimated it. And it just was so close for me. I really thought I waited too late, that I wouldn't respond. And, I came up here one day in that period. I thought everybody hated me in this meeting. I was building a case, which is what my ego does. Builds a case. And I walked in the meeting, and they asked me if I'd like to be secretary. I don't know. There's something wrong with those two things, like they don't add up. If they hate you, why would they ask you to, And I'm so grateful to Alcoholics Anonymous. Those are the things. So now I do those things. I was humbled, and I don't have a problem with it. I have a very prosperous sobriety now. Thank you for the question. But I do meditate. I do that stuff. Is there a woman?
Last question.
Yes, last question. Is there a female in the house? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, Mario. Hi, Mario. I can't hear you, Mario, because of the traffic.
How do you live without sex? What are you imagining? How do you move your hand and how do you keep them around?
How do I I work the program on a daily basis? How do I... The 12-step. Oh, the 12-step. How do I work the 12-step? Well, I'll tell you what, I need the business, first of all. And I talk to new people, and I've got to be conscious of that, because I do know a lot of people here, and I love them, and I start talking to them, and I forget about the newcomer. I don't look around and see when they raise their hand, you know what I mean? I have to really... Sloth can be a defect of character in that way. And that is what I do so that I know new people. I give them my number. I give them my number now. I just make my cards. I was giving out my professional card, and I realized that's the wrong lead because people start calling me for work. And I'm here, I mean, maybe somebody can get a job and I can help them, but my primary purpose is to carry the message. And so that's what I do, because I know AA works. You know, and I got your phone numbers. I count on you. If I get the obsession to drink tonight, I'm calling every one of you sons of bitches. You know what I mean? I earned my seat in Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you're new, you know, we say, if you want what we have, do what we do. There's a lot to do here. And it's fun. That's what I do. I try. I'm a mope without Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm happy, joyous, and free, whatever that may mean to you. I ain't got that monkey on my back. There's hope in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll close with this. It's a chapter that says there is a solution. It does not say, see ya, you're right, you're screwed. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Sober Sunrise. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give it a thumbs up, as it will help share the message. Until next time, have a great day.